All right, we are live. I was busy tweeting out the link and I missed. I don't know how long I was staring at the camera there, but we're live, David, and we're talking Summer League. Hit that lounge music. Oh, all right.
We're live on YouTube, Doug. We're live on YouTube. And
Live
we
on
do
YouTube.
go other places. We got our first, we got our first inquiry, where are you guys? I can't find you. I want to find you, and we appreciate that.
It's David's fault. It's David's fault that the podcast doesn't go up on time. It's definitely not my fault. So we're gonna get we're gonna get in the groove here. We're gonna get the podcast up on the podcast feed. We really are focusing, as you can see by these toy graphics I have up on the screen and the background. I've been focusing a little bit on the YouTube channel because I feel like that's ultimately where we're going to make our bread and butter and have the most fun. We're gonna have the most fun on YouTube because you can join us live, you can chat with us, we can show you things, and I feel like, I don't know, David, I feel like video is the future. I feel like people are gonna start watching a lot of
It's
video.
time to pivot. I agree. It's time to pivot.
All right, let's get into this show. We got a lot to talk about. Summer League. We got LaMelo Ball on the cover. Is he on the cover of GQ or a feature of GQ?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
That doesn't come until year 4 or 5, but it's coming. But at least he's in GQ. He's got a profile there. We'll talk about that, and then David has a wedding update. So let's get into it. Okay, David Walker is with me. I'm Doug Branson. This is not a serious Hornets podcast, talking about the Charlotte Hornets in a serious, unserious way, and other things that we want to talk about: television, movies, weddings, LaMelo Ball in GQ magazine. We're going to cover it all here on This Is Not a Serious Hornets podcast. You can watch us live on YouTube. If you subscribe to the YouTube channel, just search This Is Not a Serious Hornets podcast. Find us on YouTube, subscribe, and hit your notifications. Then you will know we are going live, and you can chat with us. And we will, if your chats are appropriate, we will answer them. If they are not appropriate, we will snicker at them, but we may not answer them. So we've got a lot to get to in this show. Summer League wrapped up for the Charlotte Hornets. They went 0-5. I don't know how much that means. I'm going to ask David Walker how much it means that the Charlotte Hornets went 0-5 in Summer League.
I don't know why that struck me funny. I just realized that every time I tuned in, they were down, give or take 30. So I guess it makes sense.
The thing is, they lost in every way you could lose. They lost close. They lost in blowouts, as they did in the final Summer League game against Chicago. They just were they were not competitive. They did not have James Bouknight. Should note that. But they weren't really all that competitive. So we'll talk about that. We've got to talk about LaMelo Ball and GQ. Had a couple of interesting tidbits there. But let's start in Summer League. By the way, this is a Patreon-supported show. We have some wonderful supporters on Patreon that help keep the lights on here. Patreon.com. The link is above me. Patreon.com on YouTube. Patreon.com/Hornets Pod. You can give us a couple of bucks every month. Cup of coffee. Buy us a cup of coffee. Keep our hive alive. Keep the lights on. Keep the thing going. We just had a new one. Steven. I think Steven's a return member because we've been doing this a while, and some people, during the off season, just like I do with League Pass, I drop League Pass for a couple of months and then I pick it back up. So totally get it. But we're doing episodes now. So if you're listening and maybe you did drop off Patreon, maybe now's the time to kick it back into gear. So thank you, Steven, for giving us a cup of coffee every month. It's a great way to keep this kind of local journalism alive. Okay, now let's talk about Summer League. David, the Hornets went 0-5. Does that mean anything to you? How does that make you? Let's get on the therapy couch for a second. How does it make you feel that the Hornets went 0-5 in Summer League?
No. I don't care about any of that. What I do care about is the fact that this core of young rookies already has a little noise around them, a little buzz, if you will. They're making the rounds on the social media.
I will not tolerate those kind of puns around this show.
They're being featured in reels. I believe reels are a thing on Instagram. I'm excited about what they've added to this core. We haven't even talked about LiAngelo thus far. It seemed to be all the talk of Las Vegas in general. So, nah, man, it's summer league. I don't care. I don't care at all.
I'm right there with you. I think if you're, I'm just curious how this affects Dutch Gailey, the coach of the summer league team. His stature within the franchise. I don't know. Honestly, I just don't know the answer to this question. If they look at this and say, wow, maybe we could have scraped a few wins, or if the team really looks at this and goes, this is all about seeing what Bouknight could do, seeing what JT Thor could do, seeing what Kai Jones could do, seeing if there's anything there with LiAngelo, and we just don't care about wins and losses at all. I don't really know the answer to that question, but I think we'll see with Dutch Gailey and where he kind of sits within the franchise in the years to come. But they don't get a win. But we did see a lot from the young kids.
Yeah.
David, let's just go down. I just want to go down the line. I've got their stats pulled up here, which, by the way, is kind of a difficult thing to do with Summer League. The NBA is sort of oscillating between caring and not caring about Summer League and the stats. So like you can't sort them by team. So I had to just have a bunch of tabs open here with the Summer League stats and find the names of the players. So let's just go down the line by their draft order, I guess. Let's start with James Bouknight. Played in 4 games, did not play in last night's late game against the Chicago Bulls, was ruled out with a foot injury, but it doesn't seem all that serious. It just seems like you want to be careful with your 11th pick, and you don't want to, push any small injury.
Sure.
So he plays 4 games, averages almost 29 minutes a game, 16.8 points per game on 45% shooting. He went 37.5% from 3 on 4 attempts. He was 70% from the line. He almost averaged a block a game, almost averaged a steal a game. 3.8 assists, 2.8 rebounds, and 3.5 turnovers. David, your assessment of James Bouknight after watching him in Summer League.
I liked a lot of what I saw from James Bouknight. Had the off game against Davion Mitchell, but then had a game where he was super special, I thought, in the follow-up to that. So, when I was looking for Bouknight to make an impact on this Summer League play, it was with some spectacular plays, it was with some scoring, and it was with just a general overall feel. And that's the biggest thing that stuck out to me. I just saw somebody that, one, wanted to play, 2, had a pretty good feel for the game and kind of tried to get other people involved where he could, but also, made some difficult looks, made some difficult passes, especially in the full court transition game that I saw. So, yeah, I was encouraged by Bouknight and what he was able to do. It's not easy to go out there, and because he was directing some of that offense. Correct me if I'm wrong. When he was out there, he was directing some flows. It's not easy to do that with a group that has never really played together before, right? As this 0-5 record can attest to. So the fact that he was just able to go out there and kind of get his game, let people shine where he could. And the new young guys seem to enjoy each other as well. So I was good with Bouknight. Nothing serious about the injury, let's hope. So I think all good things. You liked what you saw from Bouknight coming out of Summer League.
I think if we're being fair, we have to call James Bouknight's Summer League up and down. He had games where he looked shaky. He had 2 games where I thought he looked shaky, and then 2 games where, David, I thought you were kind of dead on there. He looked special. Like, you could see why the Hornets were interested in taking this player that did fall a few spots from where a lot of people – you could see where a lot of the draft pundits had him higher, around 6-7 than where he ultimately landed at 11. And luckily, this injury that he has was declared a foot injury and not anything to do with the elbow injury that kept him out of some of that season with UConn. But it was up and down. There were moments where his handle, as pointed out by the coaching staff and by a commenter here, was a little shaky. He looked like somebody that may not be able to carry an offense right now. And that's okay. Not every player can do that. Not every player can come out of college out of the gate. Not every guard can come out and is ready to command an offense. I think he probably in his first few seasons is going to scout out as more of an off-ball player.
Yeah.
And I thought he struggled at times with pushing the pace, and I think that's something that he's going to be asked to do. But I don't necessarily know if it's something he's going to be asked to do on ball. I mean, I think, he'll be asked to do that sort of in tandem with Ball and Rozier and some of the bench guards, Ish Smith, that he's playing with, and it'll just happen naturally. We also have to say, like, David, he didn't have a point guard on this team. I mean, with all due respect to Grant Riller and DJ Carton, I just didn't, like, there was no one that could really facilitate to him. And so this was just a difficult summer league for me to get a true read on what he's actually going to be in his rookie season.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he was handling a lot of those duties. And if you're looking back to the offseason moves, I was thinking he would kind of slide into that Malik Monk role more so than the Devontae Graham role. Of course, they brought in Ish Smith to fill that. So it doesn't seem like they would be counting on him to be that facilitator right off the bat. So you're okay with that. But he was also asked to do it a lot at UConn. And so you hope that that's kind of ingrained in there somewhere. But yeah, I mean, that's definitely one of the areas he's going to have to improve on. But to your point, it was a little bit of a mishmash, as summer league is, just in general.
Yeah.
And there wasn't a lot of, you didn't have with any other player, right? LaMelo Ball era would have been, second year probably would have been playing, right? But you're not going to put LaMelo Ball in that, obviously. So there wasn't any veteran leadership of any sort. And so, yeah, he had to do a lot of that on his own.
Yeah, I'm anxious to see James Bouknight when he's getting facilitated to more than he's handling the ball, like in preseason. We'll probably see that a lot.
When he can move, find some room, find his areas, yeah.
Catch and shoot. I just didn't think he had a ton of those opportunities. And he wasn't, and to be fair, he wasn't knocking a lot of them down. Like, he didn't shoot the ball incredibly well from three. A lot of his offense he was developing on his own, driving. He's quicker than a lot of players except for Davion Mitchell. Like that.
Right.
That was the one where he tried his game. He pulled all the bags, he pulled all the tricks out of the bag, and Davion said, no, sir. Not on me, not today. But yeah, I mean, that game against San Antonio, 23 points, 8 assists, 0 turnovers. Like, you saw the potential when he got up with like one of his first plays in summer league. He got up super high, head to the rim to get a block, on a transition play. Like, the athleticism is off the charts. I think the basketball IQ is there. I think there's a lot to love about Bouknight. I think it's super promising. But as I said from draft night, I just don't think he's instant noodles. I don't think that he's going to be kind of a Donovan Mitchell, like, out of the box all-star. Oh, this guy's, I think the potential is there, but it just may take a few seasons of of getting in there. But if I'm wrong, hey, that's a great kind of wrong to be, because the Hornets will be in a really good spot. Let us know what you think about James Bouknight in the chat if you're watching us live. Ask us questions, comment on what you think James Bouknight did well, what he did poorly. But we'll get to those in a second. We're gonna move on to the other first round pick that the Hornets had, and that is Kai Jones, the big man from the Bahamas out of Texas. We don't know what his nickname's gonna be yet. Sky Jones, Fly Jones, I don't know, but he's a high flyer and he's a great mover. And here are his stats. He played in all 5 games, averaged 28 minutes, 9.8 points per game on 40% shooting. Shot a couple of three-pointers, but not a lot of them went in, 16.7% on 1.2 attempts, 85.7% from the free throw line, 9.4 rebounds, 0.8 blocks, 3 turnovers a game, 1.6 assists. They don't really track the number of highlights you have per game, but I would say he averaged around 1.5, 2 highlights a game, because he was a pretty slick and sick player to watch. David, your thoughts on Kai Jones and his summer league?
Yeah, I think a lot of what you were expecting going into the season, and the fact that he's going to really be dependent on maybe what he gets in transition, what other people can kind of create and lay off to him. You pointed out the just the averages in scoring, so wasn't creating a ton for himself. And so I think, the beneficiary of a LaMelo Ball lob pass or Rozier or whomever is out there on the court with him is going to be his strength. Still TBD for me, and I think probably a lot of people, and you chime in here, Doug, that kind of where he will and how much he'll fit in with this team early on. I mean, the Hornets are certainly high on him, and you see the athleticism. You know they want to get that on the court. I just don't know how that's going to translate into gameplay and court feel when the stakes are higher and the talent level out there is a lot better.
Well, if the Hornets stay completely healthy this season, especially in the front court, then I agree with you. I think he's still raw, he's still a project player, and there will be a few minutes here and there for him, but not anything significant. That's at least my guess before we get into training camp and preseason. But a few injuries. I mean, the Hornets are really thin in the front court. So a few injuries, and you're talking about Kai Jones, playing a 10, 15 minute a game kind of role. And then if it gets really bad, you could see him in a significant role. Or, on the flip side of that, or if he just progresses suddenly, then you take that and say, all right, let's elevate this kid and see what he can do. He's modeling his game right now after this was on the broadcast last night. He said he's modeling his game after KD and Giannis, which is a name that I've brought up. He reminds me of when I was looking at blurry video of Giannis working out before the draft. Like, he looks like he can move, and Brad Rowland of Locked on Hawks said this, he can move in ways that big men aren't supposed to move. And that's the same with Giannis. When Giannis takes guys off the dribble from the three-point line, it just doesn't match what you're accustomed to seeing guys of that size be able to do. Kai can do the same thing. Kai's problem right now, and this is a problem in Summer League, and I tweeted this last night, that he's got like dollar moves from the three-point line and 5-cent finishes. So he's struggling he can get past a defender. He can create opportunities for himself, and he hasn't figured out quite how to make the ball go in the darn hoop. But to me, that's something you can teach. What he's doing at the three-point line when he moves and shakes, that's a natural gift ability that he has that I think ultimately, you can progress some of the other stuff. And if it does, he's going to be a problem, David. I mean, legitimately, I think Kai Jones, I'm going to say something here. It's a little bold. You ready for this?
Heads up.
It's a smidge bold.
Mm-hmm.
I think Kai Jones has the potential to be way more of a problem for teams than James Bouknight. And Bouknight was 11.
You look at the body and the length and the ground he can cover in that first step, right? And once he can get somebody off balance, he can go, So that's the Giannis KD angle you see with him. Just the potential for that big long length on the wing.
Yeah, quite. The question marks are body. Can he get stronger? Because he was finishing over smaller defenders. He was able to get all the way to the rack and finish strong, both hands. We saw that a couple of times, but against bigger NBA defenders, he's not going to be able to do that. So can he get stronger quickly, like Giannis did? Like Giannis, think about his body evolution. I mean, that's really the crazy thing about Giannis, thinking about his rookie season versus where he is now with the MVPs and the championship, is his body evolution. Can he evolve the body? Okay, that's number one. Number two, can he develop a shot? Which Giannis is still working on a three-point shot, but he's got a reliable mid-range shot that he can use if guys sink down or they double team or whatever, he can pull up. Can Kai get a mid-range shot that's worth anything? I think that's another question mark. Can he keep the turnovers down? Again, I think a lot of that is the finishing ability. He was, putting the ball in places where it was easy to strip, or he was just losing it. I thought he did a pretty good job screening. He seems like fundamentally a pretty good screener. So that's going to help you get minutes in the NBA when it's early on. So a lot to love about Kai. I want to know what everybody else out there thinks. Comment. If you're watching live, you can comment live. If you're not watching live, you can comment in the comments section, and we'll make a point to talk about it on the next show. But I'm super excited about both of these players, Bouknight and Kai. You know why, David? Because they're quick, because they're athletic, because they have skills. To me, they're like complete package players. Whereas I feel like, even though Kai's a project, to James Bouknight less, he's somebody that I think can contribute a little bit more out of the box. But they're both players that have all the things that you need to be successful in the NBA.
They haven't just started playing basketball 5 years ago. Right? They look like they're basketball
I don't
players.
know. Bouknight, I think Bouknight, the big thing with Bouknight is that he was late to the game. but
Okay.
he's a pro. I mean, he's prodigal. I think
Mm-hmm.
I'm using that word correctly. Prodigal. Like he's just somebody that took to the game very quickly. But they have the full slate of tools.
Yeah. Jump back to Book Night real quick, and then we can move on to Thor and
Scotty Lewis, baby.
Scotty
Scotty had a
Lewis.
game. Scotty had a game
Um,
last night.
but like Book Night, they're not going to ask him to be the Donovan Mitchell, right? Like that's the
No,
perk that goes along with him, that he's going to be playing
that's
behind
the
some of these
perk of
other
playing
guys.
with LaMelo. You already got the star.
Right. Right.
Yeah, he's not.
So you know that he can have a little room to grow. It could be a good fit for him to kind of find his legs out there and create for himself and figure out where he fits in.
Let's combine Thor and Scotty
Let's
Lewis
do that.
in a conversation because I want to get to this GQ article from LaMelo, and also you have something on you have a wedding update, and I'm really curious about the wedding update, honestly. So we'll get to that in a second. So real quick, Thor played in 4 of these games. He didn't play in the first one because they were still finalizing the trade that allowed Thor to come over to the Hornets or his rights.
Can we just real quick? Can we touch on this? This was a trade that we knew about on draft night, right? Okay, but they didn't announce it on draft night. So going back to some criticism of the draft and the broadcast,
Every year
in the building, no one in the building probably even knew except for Woj. And then he tells the people after they've already broken it down for the other guys, the other team, we got to fix this NBA. We got to speed this up. They're
fixing
nonsense.
everything else. I don't understand why it's so difficult. Somebody has to tell me why it's so difficult to fix this situation. There's got to be something in a CBA provision or some baloney that is because this just seems like a very simple fix. And it's not happening. And there are other examples from other leagues where it does happen. And
it happens,
they've got to figure it out.
So anyway.
Yeah, no, I get it. And it's something we complain about, just like League Pass. It's something we complain about every single year. The NBA does fix things. Hopefully they're fixing this whole shooting foul debacle where offensive players just create this BS. I hope they continue to fix the replay to reduce the time. They've got to. But these are the things that we deal with.
He missed a game. I mean, it's just summer league, but he missed a game. Like there was no prioritizing anything to make sure this young guy was on the right team. The first time one of those teams played a game.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's silly.
Come on.
Are you okay?
All right.
Do you need a second?
I'm good.
Do you need a drink of water?
When he did play, did play.
Need a cool towel. Kenny G record. JT Thor. Let me give you the stats real quick.
Yeah.
So he 16 minutes a game. He came off the bench for the most part. 10 points per game on 50% shooting. We didn't mention that on Kai. I mean, his shooting percent. Well, I did that. He's not finishing the ball well, but his shooting percentages have to improve. But JT Thor, on the other hand, 50% on 7 attempts, 25% from 3, which was surprising, but 76.9% from free throw. Like the stroke is okay. It just didn't go in. 5 rebounds per game, 1 block, 1 steal a game, only 1 turnover. So he was doing a lot of dirty work. JT Thor, your thoughts?
Another super athletic guy, which is what I like. 6'9", looks like he's only
wingspan for days.
Doug, how old do you think JT Thor is? You may know because you watch all of Summer League.
I think he's 19. He's young. He's a young boy.
He's 18.
Whoa.
According to this website. He will have a birthday coming up soon, August 26th.
Okay. So he's essentially 19.
His insurance age is 19, yeah.
Well, you know my thing on these ages, when we say a kid's 19, it's like, okay, that's fine, but it's year 1 in the NBA. That's what I'm counting. We used to say this with Malik Monk all the time.
Monk.
Oh, Malik's 19. It's like, or Malik's only 21 years old. It's like, he's been in the league for 3 years. I don't care that he's 21 years old.
I know you really don't. I like, I saw the highlight last night. I saw the highlight last night. I mean, were you expecting him to shoot well from 3? Because I'm just looking at his stats at Auburn, 29%, call it 30, give him the benefit of the doubt from 3 in college. So,
well, then maybe I was just sold.
Where did this expectation come from?
I don't know. I was just sold that he could stretch the floor a little bit. Maybe that just meant that he could. That he had that maybe there was a shot that he had a shot. I don't know. Okay. I just felt like Maybe I'm completely wrong. I just feel like there was an expectation that maybe he could develop into a stretch big.
Well, on the plus side, he only took 0.8 per
He's
game.
not a back.
So
Well, the thing is, look at his body. Like, I don't think he's ever going to be a back down big. Like, he's not going to be any kind of traditional big.
no. But another guy that's going to get out and run, right? And another guy that can basically take that first step and a half and get to the rack, as you saw last night. He had a highlight dunk against the Bulls
Oh
where
my
somebody just
God.
blew his assignment. So
I had
that's
to
what they
watch it
keep
in the
adding.
okay. I will admit I did not watch the fourth quarter. I was tweeting through the third quarter, and then probably anyone that was following along saw a precipitous drop in my tweets to 0 at the fourth quarter because I fell asleep. But I woke up to that amazing highlight dunk by JT Thor that I think you're right, David, really shows the promise of Thor.
Thor dropped the hammer as the as I think
We're
it
going to be
was.
hearing a lot of that from
Oh
old
boy.
EC. He's going to
I
be
think
he's going
he's
to
going to go
be
deep into the Marvel vault. I think he's going to
well,
pull
no,
things from the
or
comics and the movies. I mean, who knows?
and the Norse mythology. He's going to go all the way through the comics, through the Marvel universe, and into the actual Norse mythology, Viking history behind
The
Thor.
Asgardian encyclopedia. I mean, just go all the way down. So I lost my train of thought, as usually happens when we start talking EC. I hope he's having a good summer, by the way. I bet he is.
Oh,
He was
he's
doing
working.
he was working. He was doing I wanted it wasn't it was the basketball tournament, I think, the TBT or whatever.
Yeah.
I think somebody showed him doing that. So shout out to EC. But the thing that is going to interest me with Thor, I think, is I think he's going to spend a lot of time in Greensboro. Or they're certainly, working the burning those highways up between Greensboro and Charlotte. Where is there a competition between he and some of these young guys and the likes of Vernon Carey or Nick Richards, like those guys that have some experience in there, but just haven't had the spark? I think he provides athleticism that Nick Richards, I shouldn't say doesn't have athleticism, but Thor, I think is intriguing to me. From that standpoint, I don't know that we'll see a lot from him next year in Charlotte, but defensively and the ability to kind of affect things on the defensive end, I think is going to be where he shines most of all first, but we'll see. I mean, you never know. Some of these guys go to Greensboro and then they do show up, but it looks to me like he does have some improving to do on his shot, certainly from the outside.
For sure. Let's move to Scotty Lewis, who had a decent game last night against the Bulls, 5-11 from the field, 16 points total. He averaged 8.5 points per game, played in 4 of these bad boys on 50% shooting. He's on a 2-way contract, David. He's another guy that like flashes potential. He's got an NBA body for his position. Could be a great 3 and D wing down the line. Only shot 1.3 3-point attempts on 60% shooting. So, when he took him, he knocked him down. But almost 2 blocks a game for Scotty Lewis. I mean, he was just a bundle of energy all over the floor. I really like Scotty Lewis. I don't think he's going to see a lot of time in Greensboro, but I think 2 or 3 years from now, we could be looking at Scotty Lewis on the floor for the Hornets.
A 3 and D guy, right? I mean, somebody that can defend and be athletic all over the court, and that's what all these 4 guys bring. I mean, they seem to want to get out and run, excel when they're jumping and running. So I like Scotty Lewis too. I think it's a great just home run, second round swing for the Hornets. They're adding those guys. I mean, they're starting to take risks and lottery tickets, for lack of a better term, on young guys that you could see playing, high level minutes in a high level athletic NBA game. So it'll be fun to watch Scotty Lewis, take some turns in Greensboro, and who knows? I mean, the way the wing depth shakes out and injuries happen, we'll see.
Very quick thoughts on Arnoldus Kuboka, who we've been mispronouncing the name of, Arnie, as they call him on the team. We've been saying Kuboka. It's Kulboka. It's just a slight pronunciation error there, but we got it right. Kuboka. I almost did it again. Kuboka. What do you think, Arnie?
I mean, didn't seem out of place from what I saw of him.
No,
I gotta say. I mean,
2-way contract.
Yeah.
Not a ton of. It looks like he deserves the 2-way contract. It looks like he's got steps to make. You're still looking for that sort of what he had some head turning passes and he knocked down a couple of great catch and shoot opportunities. I'm still waiting to see like what's that. I'm sure the team is as well. Like what's that one skill that's going to elevate him past the two-way contract, past Greensboro, if that's where he ultimately lands, or if he goes back to play overseas. What's that one skill that can bring him to the NBA? I think that's still the question mark there. What do you think about the final, last but certainly not least, a player that was getting chance in the building in the Thomas and Mack Center pretty much every time he hit the floor, LiAngelo Ball. Your thoughts on LiAngelo at Summer League?
I'm just glad. I have to admit, I'm glad the Ball phenomenon, the Kardashians of the hard court, as they were put in the just GQ article. It's fun, right?
I'll say this. League. Listen, I'm going to say this, and it's probably going to alienate a few people who watch this show and listen to the show.
One person for sure. Go ahead.
If you're annoyed by this Ball situation, you need to evaluate your fun levels. You need to evaluate why you watch sports, because sports is fun. Sports should be exciting. The Hornets should have players that people talk about. It doesn't mean that LiAngelo is going to make the team, but like if you're annoyed by Ball and LaMelo Ball, if you were annoyed by all the attention that was paid to Lynn Sanity when Lynn was here, or any of the attention that went to Dwight Howard, I just think you need to reevaluate why you watch sports. Like it's fun that people are chanting LiAngelo Ball's name despite the fact that he wasn't starting and he really didn't deserve to start.
Yeah, I think
that's all I'm saying. That's all I'm going to say. All right, Doug Ranson.
I hope against hope that he is in Greensboro, and I don't see any reason why he maybe should not be. So I don't think he'll see the floor in Charlotte that much. But look, I mean, I think he literally and legitimately, did well for himself out there. I mean, he certainly did more than I thought he would be able to do, even in Summer League. So good for the kid.
He improbably puts the ball in the basket. Like he had a hook shot in that game.
It's true. I mean, it doesn't.
Like I'm like, what just happened? How did that ball go in? I don't get it. But yeah, I'm excited for him, and I hope he does make Greensboro. But if he has a better opportunity somewhere else, he'll take it. It's not, as he should. But I think it's cool that the Hornets. So essentially, what happened, if you don't know, is that every player on the Hornets team got an opportunity to invite someone to work out at the facility. And so LaMelo obviously invited LiAngelo. And then they were like, whoa, this kid, he's working hard and he's got something. So let's invite him to Summer League. So it's a cool story. And I'm glad that the Hornets are doing anything big and small to encourage LaMelo Ball to continue to be a Charlotte Hornet into the future.
I want to know
to a limit, David.
Right.
Like you shouldn't give up a roster spot, which the Hornets are like over the amount of roster spots that they can have. They got to whittle this thing down. So that's the thing about LiAngelo. If you're thinking about should he make the team or not make the team, he's gonna have to literally beat guys. It's not as if it's like, all right, we got an extra roster spot. Come on board, buddy. Let's take a ride. No, and I don't see him beating out Cody Martin. I don't see him beating out McDaniels. These players that he's going to compete with for roster spots.
Yeah, I mean, that's what most of the talk about him doing that is missing, of course. I mean, it's no stranger to Hornets fans that the national perspective is not intricately familiar with the ins and outs of the Hornets roster. But now I want to know who else got the +1 invite at these open runs or organized practices. Like, who are the other guys that were in there? I mean, was it all family members? Was it best friends, former teammates? Like, who else was?
It feels like what was the movie where
did anyone else make the jump to Summer League? Is what
I don't think so. But was there? So. It sounded like when I heard it, the Philadelphia Eagles movie when they invited. What was that?
Exactly.
When they invited all the
Wahlberg.
People to open tryout. Yeah, like it sounded like something like that, like an interesting sort of idea where you just bring your buddy to the workout and maybe they hit, maybe they don't.
And got a chat here. LiAngelo went back to the local bar, just was serving up pints and just,
something tells me with 2.6 million followers, you're not serving pints, you're being served too. He's probably, that's the thing about LiAngelo, such low pressure. Like, yes, you want to be a star, like you want to play basketball. There's the love of the game factor, but it's not as if his life is over. If he has enough star power where you can make a living on Instagram with 2.6 million followers. You don't need basketball to accumulate some wealth. So it's an interesting thing for
Now,
LeAngelo.
I mean,
It speaks, I think, to LeAngelo's whole ethic that he has all. He could rest on his laurels. He could say 2.6 million Instagram followers. I could hawk a product and make a bunch of money. But instead, he's like, no, I legitimately want to be on an NBA team. I'm going to do everything I can. So that should speak to who he is as a person, I think.
absolutely. Absolutely. He worked hard out there.
Got a chat here from David, who's been a longtime supporter of the podcast on Patreon. Thank you again, David, for chatting and for supporting this show. He said, I loved Linsanity when it happened here, but I could have done without the Dwight Howard experience on all levels. I think that's fair. I think that's fair to feel that way after the fact. I think I was more criticizing the moment that the Dwight Howard signing was announced. There was a certain group of people that were like, boo, no, we can't have, and, I'm just like, hey, let's just see, especially in that particular situation, like they had no better, really great option because of the Plumlee trade that they had made. So all I'm saying is it's sports, embrace fun. That's sort of the ethos of this whole show, is that we embrace the chaos, we embrace the fun. And so that's why I will scream, LeAngelo, if he does something great, and I'll understand if he doesn't make the roster.
Now, I do want to see if the ball effect, and I have no doubt at this point that it can travel to Greensboro. Like, I want the swarm games to have lines around the corner. I want some coverage. I want some ESPN coverage at these Greensboro swarm games. Let's see what happens.
Can a Greensboro swarm game make ESPN the Ocho?
Right, exactly. Let's give these guys, a big experience, a big the bright lights to play under in Greensboro. Let's see what happens.
Okay, that was our summer league recap. We're going to move on. We're going to have way more thoughts as we progress through the rest of this offseason into training camp, which does approacheth. But I want to move to this GQ article. It's all about LaMelo Ball. The title of the article, if you want to look it up, is called Generation LaMelo. To everyone's surprise except his own, LaMelo Ball is the best young player in the NBA and the avatar of its future, by Tyler R. Tynes. So check that out on GQ. But I want to hit up a couple of the quotes that I found interesting. Here's a little bit from Tyler. Historically speaking, playing in Charlotte has come with frequent calamity. The team has not progressed past the first round of the playoffs in 20 years, and it owns the worst regular season record of all time. By percentage, technically. Hornets owner Michael Jordan is often mocked for the ragtag crews he shepherds onto the court each season. Well, he's mocked. I
thought he was going to the clothing pun there, to be honest, and he steered away. So I give him.
I'm disappointed. I think if you're going to make the Michael Jordan joke, then you need to go all the way. All right, he says, but getting superstars to flock to small market franchises is virtually impossible, meaning the bulk of the team building has to come through the draft. In LaMelo, Charlotte basketball has a future for the first time since Kemba Walker came to town a decade ago, or Larry Johnson and Muggsy Bogues controlled Buzz City in the 90s. I don't expect Tyler to get this little nuance piece here, but like when we drafted Kemba, it was exciting, but I don't think anyone thought it was. I don't remember it being like a franchise, like, oh man, it's going to be franchise changing. It wasn't until several years later and Clifford, and you thought, oh shoot, okay, we've got a good, we've gone from having a good point guard that you can maybe build, hopefully get some stars around him, to he's actually could be a star. But Larry Johnson obviously was immediate. You knew he was going to be great. But anyway, that's my thought on that.
Yeah, no, I think he's talking about the point of the fact of just the Kemba highlight, or the Kemba peak here was basically. I mean, and the Hornets had some runs in between there, of course, as we know, but nothing has reached those levels of LJ and starter jacket era Charlotte Hornets. But yeah,
okay, this is interesting here from Borrego, a little bit of a truth bomb. Borrego's never been afraid to tell the truth. I think he does it strategically. I think he does it knowing that when he says something, it's something he's already said to a player, and it's not going to like ruin the relationship. I think Borrego's smart in that way. But he says here in the article, LaMelo didn't immediately follow the patterns that turned boys into men and rookies into professionals in the NBA. Borrego says, quote, the habits of being on time, not skipping a weight session, studying your playbook, knowing your plays, these are areas of growth that he's working on, unquote.
Right.
He's trying, yeah, so does that surprise you, David?
I think that if there's any negativity to come out of that, it would come from those quotes. I mean, not that he's being negative, he's just being truthful. We didn't hear a lot about that. I mean, I didn't, certainly in this first rookie year of LaMelo. I mean, you didn't hear just a lot of anything. I mean, there weren't any local profile pieces that I can recall. So, to hear a little peek behind the curtain on some growing pains for LaMelo, I think is refreshing because it's honest. If you wanted to be skeptical of anything, maybe that would give you some cause for concern. But I think it's more to the fact that it's a young guy kind of learning the ropes. But it does show you that the Hornets are being understanding of that. You know what I mean? Like they're like, hey, we had some slip ups. We had to, show him how to do things here. And hopefully he continues to learn from that. So, I mean, that's just part of being the main guy or being a professional, right? I mean,
Right.
Those extra things that you may not have to do, but if you want to get to a level of greatness, then you have to follow through on that. So, but they go on to highlight, these 2 a.m. working sessions and or shooting sessions. So there is extra work being put in there. He's also constantly late.
Well,
as in the article.
So it's the interesting thing, right? It's not that there's not a question of his work ethic. It's a question of details. And I think Jordan would attest to this. I think a lot of great NBA players would attest to this. So like the details are when you get ahead of everyone else. Like LaMelo Ball could probably coast into several all-star selections because of just his talent alone. Like his talent is going to surpass a majority of NBA players in his class. But the details are where you can truly become great. And I think that's what they're trying to drill into LaMelo. And hopefully that takes.
Right.
But I think even if it doesn't, you're going to get a pretty amazing player. It just, are you going to get think about LeBron. I mean, LeBron is somebody that the details absolutely matter to him. Like his whole workout regime that he has around him, it's all about sculpting his body and preparing his body in every way possible. Think about Tom Brady. The mechanics around his whole off-season and in-season preparation are just dialed into such an extreme level because that's what it takes to be greater than everyone else. And I'm confident LaMelo will understand that. There's always the tug and pull of like, I'm a star, and there's a lot of things that come along with being a star. He's becoming a fashion icon. He's becoming all of these other things. And there's always going to be a question, I think, is like, does LaMelo want to become an NBA star? Because it's not a given. But I think he's going to choose to become a star. I hope he's going to choose to become a star. Yeah,
that's also the difference between a 18, 19, 20-year-old on his rookie deal and 40-year-olds who I guess can see the light at the end of the tunnel. All those, I don't know if those two dudes will ever stop playing sports of any kind, but I mean, that's just part of learning how to go about things, how to be a professional athlete, how to be a professional, right? And to your point, he has a lot of stuff going on. They also did mention, spent basically all the offseason here in Charlotte or in connection with the Hornets in some form or fashion. So last year, and look, we also do have to remember last year was not a normal year by any stretch of the imagination, right? So you don't know what a normal season would bring that last season didn't as far as follow up or see how things are done or just being around the team all the time as you would in a normal season without COVID and pandemic stuff.
And I'll say this without trying to get too pop psychology on it, but LaMelo is a different kind of star in that he spent time overseas and not being like coddled by a college organization that was completely focused on making him happy. Like he spent time overseas where he mentions in the article people were throwing water bottles and throwing Gatorade on them. Like it's not no matter how big your name is, it's not as comfortable as an experience over there than it is, in some of these college environments. So he knows. It's sort of interesting when someone knows what the bottom looks like. That's, I think, a powerful motivator to stay on top. So it's going to be very interesting following this story. I hope we continue to follow it in Charlotte. He's giving little hints that there could.
He said he wants to be here. He said he wants to be here. That's the right thing to say, Doug.
I know he's saying it. I want to believe it, David. I just don't want to get hurt. I'm vulnerable.
He's global, dude. He's global. You can do this from anywhere.
It's going to be, when they're going to, I know, I'm stuttering because I'm so vulnerable. There are going to be things that are said right up until the point where he has the choice. You know what I'm saying? Where he has the choice.
Sure.
And then everything changes.
Well, that's why I need everyone in Greensboro to come out and support LiAngelo. Do all you can. Greensboro, we need you.
It's up to you, Greensboro. You have the future of the franchise in your hands. We're not talking about LiAngelo. We're talking about LaMelo.
That's right.
Okay. That's the GQ article. Again, the article name, Generation LaMelo. Go read it. Tyler R. Tynes is the author. David, let's wrap this up with your wedding. You have a wedding update.
Update, Doug. Real quick update. A couple weeks ago, we gave out some tips on doing groomsmen toasts. You had recently been a best man in the wedding. We went through what I was approaching.
Two-time best man, by the way.
Right. So I wanted to get your take on this. Wanted to get your take on this. Mm-hmm. Still a groomsman. Have not been called up to the best man as of yet. His dad is serving as best man.
Oh, okay. So that's
dad serving as best man.
Right.
However, was asked.
You wait a minute. You kind of proposed that as if you might secretly be waiting for the dad to maybe pass away so that you could be elevated.
God,
I don't know why you.
Oh my God!
I don't know why you phrased it that way. Like, he's best man for now.
I'll tell you why. First of all, it's going to be very hot. It's an outdoor wedding in August down in South Carolina, and we're on tuxedos. So whoever passes out, next man up. But have been asked to be the MC for the rehearsal dinner. Okay, so this is
okay. Not the wedding. At least you're
the rehearsal dinner, which is traditionally
a lot of pressure.
Right. Well, the rehearsal dinner is when I've been there. It's traditionally when the speeches and stuff and the dinners and kind of the more formal toasts come about. Mm-hmm. And so at this particular wedding, it sounds like we got 3 slots on the bride's side and a corresponding 3 slots on the groom's side. And then one of those will be taken up by the best man, his dad, and then it's been kind of placed on me and one other guy to fill the other 2, mm-hmm. But I was asked to kind of be the master of ceremonies. We got to work out the specifics, but now where does that rank? What kind of roster flexibility is that to you? Because I know best man is another level, but if you're captaining the event, it's on your shoulders. It's kind of like the White House Correspondents' Dinner. You know what I mean? Like you've got the microphone, you're handing it out, you control the flow of what's going on.
It's true. You have a lot of potential but you also have a lot of potential to ruin the night. So not to put any pressure on you. I think when you're emceeing something, your job is to get in and get out very quickly, kind of get out of the way a little bit but at the same time, you're a groomsman, so you could be asked to do your speech at the rehearsal dinner, maybe, mm-hmm. right? Or because that's how it works. In some weddings, they do groomsmen at the rehearsal dinner. In some weddings, they do it all at the
more rehearsal dinner.
So, I think you have a great opportunity to set up your speech. You'll have your speech at the end, but you can use the emceeing little moments that you have to set your speech up, to lay little breadcrumbs of your speech. I think you actually have a lot of interesting opportunities here, but I would advise you as the MC to be bold, but be quick. I don't want to hear from the MC a ton, but when I do hear from them, him or her, I want to hear some bold things, but very quick things.
Right. Well, I've got to work with a lot of elements, right? I'm not sure where the band fits into this. I don't know what the father of the bride and the father of the groom want to say. I got to feel out what the bridesmaids are thinking. How many of them are going to get up at a time? What kind of emotion are we going to get out of them?
You need small, interesting details about each of the people that you're going to be tossing the mic to. That's what you need.
Right. And here's the tricky part.
Yeah.
I'm probably not going to see any of these people before the rehearsal in that afternoon. So I got to do some quick work, right, to get a repertoire going. So when I pass the microphone to them, it's reciprocal. Everything is copacetic. So yeah, I got to have my game plan, but then I've got to make quick work of the relationships, work with the wedding planner. Haven't even talked about that, Doug. I don't know what they've got in mind. So we'll see. Just want to give you an update though.
That's good. That's a good update. When you're emceeing anything, I do feel like it's just a little level above being a referee. Like referees, we don't want to really notice them at all. It's not that. It's not that you don't want to notice the MC. You want to, but you want to. Anytime that I've said, "Man, that was a really good MC," or where I couldn't think of one thing that they said that was out of place, and they got out of the way.
Right. Right.
So that's all I would. That's all.
They kept the waters calm, right? They steered the ship and kept things moving.
Kept things moving. All right, David L here has one more comment for us. Just make sure you watch The Wedding Singer ahead of time. That should be a perfect playbook. Exactly. You should get really depressed right before. Just get super depressed.
And you don't. Oh, trust me. I've tried to find highlights from a lot of different shows, movies, whatever, you can put together. There's a lot of good Office wedding episodes where Michael gets up there and he's like, for the next 45 minutes, I'm going to take you on this journey. So I'm working with some things in there. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, this goes for emceeing or speeches. Don't hold people hostage.
Right.
Like, make it quick, people. Like, a quick speech is way better than a long speech. Okay. Speaking of, we've gone a little long here, but I think we had a lot to talk about. I think we filled this show with a lot of good nuggets. Thank you so much for watching. You can support us on Patreon, patreon.com/HornetsPod. Thank you to David L. for hitting us up with some comments. You can comment live, or you can go to YouTube, find us there, subscribe, turn your notifications on, and comments on this video if you have something to say. And I've learned through this short experience that people definitely have things to say. So we're always interested in reading those and hearing those. And I promise that I will do the very best I can to get these things on to the podcast feed as consistently as possible. But I would encourage you to come watch us on YouTube, because that's where we're having a lot of fun. David, thank you as always. Thank you to the audience. Go Hornets, go America. Let's swarm. Charlotte!